Here in studio. And let me begin with you, Honorable Oluoch. When you're looking at the outcome of these elections, we've seen Kitui Rural has been retained by the Wiper Party from Azimio la Umoja. Rongai constituency has gone to UDA and Kenya Kwanza, of course, after Chebor trounced one member of parliament, that is Raymond Moy. David Kosing from Pokot South has retained the seat. We're still waiting for the final outcome of Kachaliba. We'll be sure to share it with you as soon as we do. But what do you make of the voting process yesterday and the exercise that you're now witnessing of release and the announcement of results from the various areas?
First of all, I think finally a big relief to the voters in these particular areas. You remember a lot of anxiety, a lot of waiting. Claims that there were, machinations by the IEBC to influence the outcome of these particular elections. But predictably, I think the turnout's very low because when people come out to vote in the general election, you have 6 elective seats and there is a motivation for populace to come out and vote. People are coming to vote for their MP, presidential and the other seats. There is also the question of people, vote in various areas. People who, for example, would otherwise vote in a general election in Mombasa would probably have traveled, and there is very little motivation for them to move again back to either Mombasa and Kakamega to be able to vote. But I think also a stamp of authority, not a very firm one, that Mombasa and Kakamega are zones that are ODM. But you can see, because one of the voter turnout and the poor motivation, that the margin is very close. I imagine that eventually ODM will still win Kakamega and Mombasa, but the margin is not as decisive as we would have wanted to win. But that really means that we have 2 more governor seats to turn out, I think, to give us a majority of the governors. It means we have at least 2 more seats, the one for Pokot, I think the one for Kitui, lost the one for Rongai, but I think that gives us, a slight edge in terms of also the race and the battle at the National Assembly in terms of the speakership.
How many are you counting for the National Assembly that you have already?
If you take out the argument that some people have done post-election coalitions, I think we would be inching closer to 170 now, as opposed to the ones for Kenya Kwanza.
How many are you giving them?
Probably about 163. Probably about 100.
Okay, all right. But if you get rid of MDG and UDM?
2 arguments here. In terms of the battle for speakership, people vote individually, and so you have to concede that there will be an advantage if they vote as per the way the post-election movements are going. But remember, those movements are also partially influenced by the announcement by the IEBC of who was president-elect. Depending on what happens at the Supreme Court, you may have a shift. And as it is, the Azimio Alliance is also reaching out to people on both sides of the divides, and it would be very interesting to know how this turns out. But on the question as to how you form who is majority in parliament, I think these movements are inconsequential.
Okay.
Because the law says that whoever it is that forms the majority and minority are predetermined by the pre-election coalition and how you came into the elections.
Okay, we'll get back to all that conversation later. But Honorable Susion, what are you making of the polling yesterday and the outcomes that we are seeing now?
I think the polling yesterday has not changed much on the table. It really what ought to have happened on 9th, and as it is a relief for voters in those counties. Now that Mombasa and Kakamega, they have a substantive governor, and the 4 constituencies have members of parliament. Looking at the performance of the coalitions, all the political parties, I can say Kenya Kwanza has maintained the victory that we've had in conquering new frontiers. Yeah, percentage of close to 50 in Mombasa and and Kakamega that is a significant sustenance of maintaining the new grounds that we've won in these cycle of elections. And that also gives you a clear indication, because these have been traditionally ODM zones, and you can see it's almost a clear takeover that Kenya Kwanza numerically in terms of national influence within the voting population remains extremely strong and shall be strong in the next political season. For parliamentary outcomes, it really is not going to change much on the table what is obtaining in the post-election circumstances, the behavior of the independents and the other political parties that have signed post-election coalitions, and the other side should not expect too much and hinge so much on the Political Parties Act and the pre-election coalitions. The fact of the matter is Kenya Kwanza shall be the strongest coalition in the 13th Parliament, both at the Senate and at the National Assembly. So really, we don't need, the other group don't need to clutch on straws and talk of still doing other things. Already, we have a commitment of 190 members of Parliament on the side of Kenya Kwanza, so that we shall control the National Assembly, we shall control the Senate.
How are you arriving at the figure of 190?
We have seen activities that we've had in the last couple of days. Yes, I just want the
specifics. Yeah. So how many for UD, how many for...
If you talk of independent, the 12 independents in the National Assembly, 10 already committed. All the 10 already, they've signed agreements, yeah. It's signed, which is allowed in law. That provision is there. And
I'm asking, including Shakil Shabir?
I don't have much information about Shakil Shabir.
No, because you said all the independent.
Yeah, not all independents. 10 out of 12 have already signed. And that number comes up to 190. So, and it is public knowledge. That,
I'm wondering how you're counting, because your colleague here gives you Kenya Kwanza 163.
I don't know whether that's... How many political parties have come in?
I don't know whether that's the correct tally.
How many political parties have come in? No, those are his...
That's what I'm asking you about your figure.
Our figure is that already we have 190 members of Parliament on our side through the engagement of the post-election arrangement, which is allowed as a consequence of the elections outcomes of 9th of August. And so there is no doubt that one, the National Assembly and control of the National Assembly and the Senate is already sealed. It's a closed business.
You know, when you say that Kenya Kwanza has control over 190 members of Parliament, then it means that your opponent, Azimio la Umoja, has less than 147, because there are those that are still aligned.
True. That's a fact. That's a fact.
Okay, but you will tell me how you're calculating that.
That's a fact. It's public knowledge. We have 190.
It's not public knowledge if you don't explain to me how you're counting. But if you don't have the answer, that's fine. It's okay to say that.
I've said very clearly, we have 190. That's it. And some wait for the coming days. You'll be able to check and confirm this. Probably this is one item that might have escaped your eyes.
But I think the question he's asking is a fair question. Just take 290 constituencies minus 190. You're putting us at 100, which mathematically and factually is not correct. I mean, based on just the mere numbers that we got from our core team, leave alone the ones doing the post-coalitions one, we're already over 140, 150. So how do you get 190 and take away votes which clearly, seats are clearly ours? So I think there's a fair question here for you to answer, in which you're done.
Anyway, Honorable Sasson, I'll give you an opportunity to verify that figure. I'm not saying it's wrong. I just wanted the calculation, how you're basing it on. Wakili Dunstan, so finally, sort of finishing up with the general election because of the mini elections that were conducted yesterday. What's your rating? Because you're looking at the voter turnout, and Brenda just told us about that from Kakamega. It's pretty low. In the general election on the 9th of August, Kakamega was about 60 plus a few percentage points in terms of the voter turnout. In Mombasa, it was around 44%. Yesterday might have gone lower than that. What's your take about this process and what it's bringing out?
Thank you very much, viewers of Citizen TV. It's not anything strange when you compare a general election vis-a-vis a by-election. What was being done, although they say that the election was never conducted, they were doing another election, that by practice and by conduct does not become a general election. There are quite a number of factors that bring voter turnout in a general election. One, the candidates are 6. Each candidate has people loyal to that candidate. And those candidates, when you talk about members of parliament, we are not looking at the winner. We are looking at 10 of them as members of parliament. They will bring voters as 10 members of parliament. 7 governors as contestant. They will get voters to the polling pool as 7 governors, 15 senators. All these, in totality, it's not only that there are 6 seats. We are talking of roughly more than 20 to 30 candidates who are in the pool on the general election day. Now you reduce the 30 people and only bring around 5. So you've removed a very critical number of people who are going to bring voters who are loyal to them to the polling center. And therefore, that is one of the reasons as to why we have a lower voter turnout. Number 2, quite a number of these people, the 30, let us talk about roughly the hypothetical number 30 of all the contestants in Mombasa, or 30 of all the contestants in Kakamega. These people had voters who were transferred from their tribes, from their locations, from where they are working, and they were registered specifically to go and vote for a specific MCA, a specific member of parliament, a specific president. All these people will no longer move from Madeira, nor will they move from West Mogirango to go to Kakamega to vote, because they were specifically to go and vote for a specific candidate. So the transferred votes, all of them, died. The only transferred votes that were brought, either it is Malala's votes and Baraza's people that they had transferred. The third element that brings about a by-election issue is that already we know the results. What are we going to vote for? After all, either one, there are those who will say this election has been rigged in favor of Azimio, or it has been rigged in favor of UDA, or in vice versa. Or we know our guy, they have lost at the presidential level. How will they now manage it? It makes no sense. So that is another reason as to why we will see a poor voter turnout in that. But said and not said, Kenyans have spoken. The law does not give a margin of what a voter turnout constitutes for it to be a valid election. Even if it was one candidate who went and voted for a governor, that governor will be declared the winner, and that is the law of this country, because we don't have a compulsory law that forces people to vote, or else they face criminal sanctions. Let me look at the formations in terms of the coalitions of Azimio and the coalitions of the Hustler Nation. What is coming out very clear is that there is a very healthy competition between the two formations. The others, there are very many people who are in the ballot. You've seen the difference between Azimio candidate in Mombasa and UDA is very narrow. Then after that, there are fringe people who are scoring 1 vote, 10 votes, 100 votes, 1,000 votes. Is also being replicated in the other side of Kakamega. My take is that we are reaching a point where we are likely to have a battle between two formations. We are likely to have two coalitions that are strong, so that we remove these other people. I don't want to call them irritants, because by law they are allowed, nobody under Article 38 can be stopped from contesting, but we are heading towards an issue-based politics where we are likely to have two dominant parties or coalitions controlling the politics of the country for quite some time, which is similar to the US, which is similar to the UK, which is similar to France, and very many other developed so that people now have started to realize that you need to join a party, fight within the party, grow within the party for you to have leadership through that party.
Even though, Dunstan, it's also an election that has really produced very successful candidates for the independents. I'm just looking at out of the 1,400 plus MCs that were elected, 112 were elected as independent candidates. If you look at the National Assembly, 12 of them from the constituencies have been elected as independents. But we'll have that conversation. First, let's listen to Francis Mtalaki, who is in Mombasa, has been there camping and waiting for the results to be announced from the various constituencies. Francis, good morning. What's the latest from Mombasa?
Well, a very good morning, Sam, and we are at the county tallying center, and the results that have been announced so far from this tallying center are from Kisauni constituency, a constituency that has the largest number of registered voters with regard to the 6 constituencies that are here in the county of Mombasa. And Abdulswamad Sharif Nasir of ODM has garnered 21,796 votes, followed by Hassan Omar of UDA, who has 20,759, and followed by a distant third with the outgoing Deputy Governor, with Dr. William Kingi, who is running under the PAR ticket with 241 registered votes that has been able to be announced so far. But what we understand from the IEBC officials is that already 5 of the constituencies have completed the tallying at their sub-county level. And what is happening currently, Sam, is that they're just doing some verifications there in terms of what is going to be happening later in the day for the official announcement of who is the governor, the second governor of Mombasa County. And if I can just run through some of the results that have been announced at the constituency level, beginning with Nyali constituency, that is Hassan Omar Sarai has 21,580 votes, and also ODM's Abdulswamad Sharif Nasir has 22,387 votes, followed by Hezronawiti Bolo, who has 267 votes, and Dr. William Kingi, the Deputy Governor outgoing, who has 186 votes. Daniel Munga Kitao, 59 votes, and Shafi Makazi has 121 votes, and Said Abdallah has 64 votes. With regard to where we are at Mvita constituency, the results that were announced at the sub-county level, Abdulswamad Sharif Nasir is leading with 24,106 votes, followed by Hassan Omar with 19,086 votes, Awiti Bolo 102 votes, and William Kazungu Kingi with 84 votes. Daniel Munga has at least 61 votes that have announced there, and Shafi Makazi 82 votes, Said Abdallah with 49 votes. Over to Changamwe constituency, we find that Abdulswamad Sharif Nasir is leading with 17,740, with Hassan Omar of UDA garnering at least 15,898 votes, followed by Hezron Awiti Bolo, who has 105, and in terms of Jomvu constituency, Abdul Somad Sharif Nasir of ODM garnered at least 15,628 votes, followed by Hassan Omar of UDA, who has 11,038 votes. William Kingi, 91 votes. Hezonawiti Bolo, 127, and Shafi Makazi, 0, and Daniel Munga Kisao has 40 votes. So that is the situation that is currently happening here in Mombasa with regard to the results that are continuing to be relayed here. We understand that Likoni constituency is yet to announce their results. Once they are in here, we'll be continue to keeping you posted. And so the other 4 constituencies that their results have arrived here, the officers from the IBC are trying to verify them before they announce, and Likoni constituency, that is the 5th constituency, will now be able to also bring their results here, and they will be verified before they announce. So far, only 1 constituency of these 6 constituencies have been announced so far, and so we will be keeping you posted on what is happening here. But it matters to do with security. As you can see, the security has been beefed up here around this area to make sure that everything goes on well, and the indications are that during the day, later in the day, maybe the IBC officer, the county returning officer, Madam Swaha Yusuf, will be announcing who is the second governor of Mombasa. But the indications are ODM candidate is leading, and followed closely by Hassan Omar of UDM, and also will be waiting for the official announcement that will be announced here during later in the day, to be able to understand who becomes the second governor of Mombasa County. Back to you, Sam.
All right. Thank you so much, Francis Mtalaki, there with an update of the latest in Mombasa. He gives us the results for 5 constituencies that have already been announced by the constituency returning officers, but also tells us that they are waiting for Likoni, but also the county returning officer is also having to go through verification of all the results from the constituencies before announcing them. Once again, it is only the outcome from Kisauni constituency that has so far been announced at the county tallying center. And of course, we'll be discussing what those numbers are reflective of, because you realize that Kisauni has a registered voter population of 135,000, but when you look at the numbers, it is only about 43,000 or so, 45,000 or so that have taken part in that election. That should be around a third. Why? After the break.